Good. No, it's great that people is waiting.
Yeah, it was great. Actually, it's already in YouTube, but you are not the screen you have here. I don't know what's happening. Let's check again.
So how many people in Lean does it take to get Zoom working and YouTube?
More than 7. More than, sorry, 8, 11.
8 and 11, yeah.
More than 11.
Obviously, we don't have enough people. That's what the problem is. It's the inputs.
Right.
One option, if it's not working, maybe we can send the Zoom link for everybody connect here. If the stream is not working.
Just a minute. We are going to change the link on YouTube. It was not working the last one. I'm going to send for all here.
Okay. And now you're live. But you need to. Do you need to send for everybody?
Yes, I just sending the invite, and I'm going to send in the chat in YouTube too. But we are live.
So I think you can start, right? Okay, good. So after some connection problems, as Mike just talked, we need more than 11 people on Lean management to make the streaming between Zoom and YouTube. But now you are online and you are live in the YouTube connection. So thank you very much, everybody that's here attempting to this webinar today. And I am very glad to host this webinar and having so many friends, researchers, and practitioners into lean construction and construction management to discuss a very important topic that is talk about the position of women on construction sector, and also about gender, and also about discuss the role of the men and male people in this subject, because it's a subject that's around the society. And I'm very glad to see that we are here to talk about this topic, and we have people from all the 20 countries that fulfill and came here to watch us today. And I'd like to thank those that brought the idea in the beginning of this year, that is Raquel, Reck, Bárbara, Pedó, and Manoela, Conte, that since the beginning of the year was thinking, what could you do to celebrate the date of the 8th of March? And actually thought make like a month of celebration and bring this topic in charge to talk with you and share experience of wonderful women that have developed great jobs and have faced different opportunities on construction management. And I'm representing, my name here is Bernardo, I'm representing Climate Consulting. That's one of the ones that in the for this team for today. But I would also like to thank CIB, that since the beginning, it's sponsors and is part of the organization of this topic today. And now I will just share my screen with you, everybody here, to let us introduce ourselves. So, as I've already mentioned, the construction sector has traditionally been male-dominated, as mostly sectors in the world and in the market. Therefore, we believe it is of utmost importance to spotlight the remarkable journeys of women who are paving the way and holding leadership positions in this field. By sharing the learnings, the challenges, and the most significant decisions of their careers, we strive to inspire and empower individuals on their professional path. So, as I already mentioned, my name is Bernardo Etges, and I'm co-founder of Climb Consulting, based here in Brazil. And I'm in charge of studying and applying in construction since the end of my bachelor degree and after my master and PhD thesis. And with me is here today also Professor Patricia Tsatsopoulos, that's a professor in integrated design and head of the Department for Design and Built Environment and director of the Innovative Design Lab Research in the Center of the School of Arts and Humanities in the University of Huddersfield. So at this point, I'd like to take the words to Patricia and also to Mark that will present themselves and also bring the next topics and the next two cases that we presented today. Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you very much, Bernardo. Welcome everyone to this event about women in construction. I'm so pleased to be here today, and to have been able to help a little bit make this event turn into bring this event into life, as it is at the moment. I think the issue of women and representation and equality and diversity around design and construction professions is something that's been, of course, discussed for a number of years, and even though there are a number of institutions that are trying to push for better equality and diversity across the sector, I think there's still quite a reduced number of females in the industry, and it would be really important for us to actually talk about experiences, share, support younger females to come into industry and to build up successful careers. And this is important not only for the females themselves, of course, but also for the construction industry as a whole. So Bernardo just mentioned about the CIB, which is the International Council for Research and Innovation in Building and Construction. I'm currently the vice president of the CIB, and it's an honor to do that. And the CIB, of course, has been leading the way and developing a lot of activities around supporting women and equality and diversity into the construction sector. But also with us today, we have Professor Mark Hastag, who's the president of the CIB. So I'd like to call him just to say a couple of words about the CIB and what we stand for and what we do. So Mark, please.
Thank you, Patricia. On the very outset, I want to congratulate the organizers, Bernardo, Raquel, Bárbara, and of course, Patricia, for putting this fantastic seminar together. I think we need more of this. The awareness is very important, and very happy from the CIB standpoint to be supporting this event. Indeed, the contribution made by women in the built environment needs to be acknowledged, and this is indeed one of those forums that promotes and brings forward what women contribute to the industry, to the academia, and to the entire built environment. As I said, we are very happy from CIB to be sponsoring this event and promoting it. And Patricia didn't mention, but she's also leading a task force on architecture and construction, or women in architecture and construction. So we have a few initiatives going on from that front. And we also organize a seminar series where the theme for the seminars for the last year has been Distinguished Women Researchers in the Built Environment. So CIB strongly supports this event, and I'm really looking forward to the presentations and the Q&A that follows after. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. And also supporting its client, that's a consulting company based in Brazil, and was the idea for the girls that you already mentioned here to bring this topic. So thank you very much, the CIB, for being with us. And I hope you can bring more topics and discuss new opportunities in the future. So Patricia, if you want to introduce the first case for Patricia Tillman, please.
Okay, thank you. So
thank you.
It's really a great pleasure for me. So today we'll have two cases, two discussions, and the first presenter is going to be Patricia Tillman. I'm very pleased to be introducing today, but I was actually the co-supervisor for Patricia's PhD work, and I've been able to witness her journey up to now. So I'm really, really pleased to be able to introduce her, as I said. So Patricia is currently a senior lean project development manager at Bolt, and is a board member for the Center of Innovation in Design and Construction industry. She has had whole roles as senior lean manager at the University of California, San Francisco. She has done some research also at the University of Salford as part of the Health and Care Infrastructure Research and Innovation Center, HACRIC, over there. And she is engaging in research as a research scholar at NORI, the Building Innovation Research Center at the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul, which is in the state we're both from originally. So without further ado, I think I can also add that Patricia's been a real advocate for lean construction, and she's been developing a brilliant career, and contributing to both industry, but also in academic terms. She's been a very brilliant academic as well. So Patricia, without further ado, I'll pass the word on to you.
Thank you very much, Patricia, for the kind introduction. I am just going to make sure I share my screen. You guys see my screen correctly?
Yes, that's
great.
fine.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Patricia, very much for the introduction. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm very happy to be here talking about this topic because I think it's really, really important. So I selected to show here a little bit of a case study. Let me just pass my slide. Yeah, one case study. So I work for Bolt, and this is one of the projects that is in my portfolio within Bolt. And I thought it was a fantastic case that showcases diversity and the aspects of culture in projects and how cultures can bring people in. Sometimes set people apart, but also bring people in. And the reason why I chose this project, this is like in the heart of San Francisco. So I'll showcase a little bit of my world here for you guys. It was a project in the heart of San Francisco with all its complexities and different stakeholders that we had to manage to understand what were the expectations regarding this building, and with all its complexities of the urban surrounding that were that actually has a lot of diversity in it too. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but I put this slide on just to show you not only the complexity of the site, but also the project schedule. If you look at it, this project was designed and built throughout COVID, the pandemic, right? So it had everything to go wrong, but it didn't. We actually managed, and I'm going to go back, we actually managed to deliver this project on time and under the target cost, under budget. So it shows a little bit of the surroundings. It's actually in the Mission District in San Francisco, and it's a well-known neighborhood for diversity and inclusion. And this is the Women's Building. So I just wanted to put it there because I thought it was nice too to situate things. So the owner of the building is an organization that have been trying to change the way that we deliver projects in construction and introduce more collaborative ways of delivering projects in the public sector. So it's a topic that I'm it's very close to my heart. And this organization has been fighting for more collaboration in the public sector for about 20 years. So there is a large portfolio of projects. And we hopped in this train with this organization to help them to introduce more collaboration in construction. So the case study is situated on this timeline, right? What is so special about this project for me was the amount of women that actually were working in the project, which I thought it was fascinating. So back then, when it was also March, we decided to take a photo, all of us together, and I was not even aware there was so many people, so many women in the project, and I thought it was fantastic. So another thing about this project too, like I said, it was delivered very successfully, but there was something special about that project that I wanted to bring it here. And there was, at Bolt, we have an understanding that with the outcomes we want to achieve, it's very much focused on the culture that we create in the projects. And in this project, we had a very strong belief that if we nurtured the right behaviors, and if we created the right experiences for people, we would have the best outcomes, the best actions, and motivating people to achieve the best outcomes. So there was a lot of work that we've done in nurturing a good culture for this project. And the way we did this, and I wanted to emphasize this portion, which I thought was really cool in this project, is like understanding and having workshops and discussions about why do we exist, how we will succeed, and how will we behave. And all of these workshops, they were done not only within our own company, but they were project-based, and we engaged also the outside stakeholders from the project, right? So it was a conversation, it was a dialogue that involved all the partners and everybody that had a stake in the project to really create a vision of what success would look like. So then just for you guys to have an idea, right? So we created a mission statement. We exist because we want to create a centralized home. The project in question was a research building. So we wanted to create a home for the staff and the academics to collaborate. We also wanted to really have a building that identified itself with that neighborhood, which had already a very strong sense of identity, right? So we also talked about, among all of ourselves, what does success mean to us, right? And I put it here, especially the ones there were a lot of things said about, the hard indicators that we generally talk in construction, but there were a lot of also like human related aspects, which I thought it was very, very nice coming out of those workshops. So lasting relationships, building lasting relationships, having the same team, building other projects again, right? Happy people, a collaborative team, an environment where we are able to learn and grow, and resiliency and ability to bounce back. And I'll talk a little bit about this in a moment, but remember, it started in 2018. We had no idea COVID was coming, right? So then I thought that all these words actually meant a lot when the hard times came, right? We also talked about, okay, this is the vision for the project, but how should we behave to achieve this vision, right? And we talked about being honest, having honest feedback, open feedback, staying engaged, working to build trust. I really like that phrase because it was never assumed that trust was there from the beginning, right? Remember, we are talking about conversations and a dialogue with clients, with trade partners, with architects. Everybody was engaged in this dialogue. So other things too is like also being aware of our impact on others and on their work, being a good listener, communicating clearly. So just to give you a little bit of an example of some work that we did in the kickoff of this project, which we actually maintained to these efforts to sustain a good culture in the project too. So I brought some like 3 little stories to show you guys how that reflected on the way we behaved in the project, right? And some great achievements. And I brought 3 examples that were actually led by women. So this first case here, working to build trust, I named it, this little story. And it's the story of a senior project manager. She was a female. She's a very lean advocate. And what we did, the trade partner in this question, she was managing the foundations and the underground utilities, and the trade partner was actually engaged in the project with a lump sum contract, and they had their own ways of wanting to go around and to build the foundations and the underground utilities. And because of our lean background, we said, wait a minute, there are different ways to do this. And we worked with a contractor to create almost like a tact plan for the foundations and the underground utilities. And at first, they were a bit skeptical because they were not used to this strategy. And through communication and being kind and showing how this could benefit the project, actually she turned the contractor around and convinced them to introduce some of the lean practices on their methodologies. And they ended up being very happy. This saved 3 weeks off of their schedule. And it was a very successful approach, but it didn't start with all the stars aligned, right? It was a process of working with them and explaining and demonstrating, and then eventually supporting them through the implementation of a production strategy that the benefits came to fruition. Another story too is, well, COVID really it had all its tolls on us, right? And the project was really suffering from COVID and engagement and participation in meetings. And we also, I have to mention the superintendent for this project. It was 2 superintendents, a man and a woman. So the people you see in the picture here is a senior project manager. She is a female. The superintendent, also a female, and I am also in the picture. And we were studying different ways of going about implementing last planner system and engaging people in different kinds of conversations. So we engaged with this company to improve, to introduce some technologies that would facilitate and improve the way we communicated in the project, and analyze constraints and organize the work and saw the work and what was happening in the field too. And then a third small story is about, like, my role in this project was, we had a performance indicators. A lot of our indicators were like leading indicators, and indicators that were around lean practices too. Those indicators was a process of building. We built them with the owner and with the other partners to what we thought was important. And one of them was about last planner, right? And how the production flow was in the project. And if you look at this chart, you can see that at a certain point in the project, we were not doing very well, right? We had a PPC of 45%. But that didn't stop us from like, how can we improve this? So we started writing and emphasizing what were the challenges that we were facing on a monthly basis and what we were actually doing to overcome those challenges. So we tricked a little bit and emphasized continuous improvement and how we were, like, dealing with these problems and overcoming these challenges in the job site. So I think this team was amazing in demonstrating and how resilient they were in bouncing back when COVID hit it the hardest and impacted our field operations. Then finally, back to the culture, right? Which I thought it was amazing that what we were able to do in this project in terms of culture, we created to sustain the efforts. There was a system of peer-to-peer recognition based on those values that we have established in the beginning of the project. So people, basically what was is like we had like cards available, printed cards available. It was recognition cards, and people could recognize each other for those demonstrated values that we've agreed to have on the project, right? So just a snapshot. And then I go back to that question of like experiences. I think the biggest success of this project, again, it's very this project for me was really a trailblazer in terms of being delivered below the target cost in the public sector and within the expected time frame. And I think it had a lot to do with how the culture was nurtured in this project, and the belief that the experiences and the behaviors that we nurture are going to end up leading to those desired outcomes. And then finally, in terms of women in this project, right? There was all kinds of roles that women fulfilled. Actually, there were women in the leadership positions. The owner representative was a woman. The architect representative was also a woman, right? We had a female superintendent in our side and several senior project managers too that played a fundamental role in implementing Lean. And also we had all other sorts of participation from the women's standpoint, right? Workforce development, technology implementation, engineering, marketing, data analytics. There were so many roles that were fulfilled by women that I wanted to share with you guys and end with this note that there is always a space, no matter how your abilities and your desires are. I think there are many different roles that women can fulfill in construction. So with that, I will just close my presentation, and I appreciate, thank you very much. And I'm looking forward for the Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Patricia. This has been a very, very interesting presentation, and I've got a number of questions here to ask you, but we'll leave those for our discussion session in a little while. So I think, Bernardo, we need to now invite Randy to present the second case, yes? So it's my pleasure as well. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so it's my pleasure as well to introduce Randy Christensen, Arroyo, and Annett Schöttle, who are here to talk a little bit about their experience on the second case. So I think Randy is going to be leading the presentation. And Randy is currently the Sustainability Director at COWI International. She's an engineer by background and did her PhD through her experience from different projects. So I'm going to call Randy, and hopefully she'll introduce herself and also pass in Annett. I know Annett is having some little issues with her connection, but hopefully she'll be able to take part as well.
Thank you so much.
So Randy,
yes.
on to you.
A second. Thank you so much. And we will take a bit of a different approach, I think, to a bit of our presentation. That will be more on a personal side. Hope you see my screen now.
Yes.
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you.
So we will introduce ourselves in a second, but firstly, I'll just give a bit of a flavor of what we'll be talking about. We'll be talking a bit more on a personal level of what lean construction and the strong network there are, also international, what that can bring to people's life and their personal life, and how they act also in their professional lives. And what we're saying is that behind every successful woman stands even more successful women, and sharing And I think that is true definitely within our industry and within the lean construction community. And that is something we would like to promote even more. But before we dive in, and I'll warn you a bit because we can talk a lot. So I'm trying to keep time from my side and I'll steer the slides. But that we talk a lot, and then it's because we really, really enjoy it. But before we dive into our experiences and why we actually work together still, despite living in 3 different countries, we'll just give a short introduction to who we are and how we met. And I don't know, Paz, if you would like to start on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Randy. Well, thank you so much for the invitation, everyone. My name is Paz Arroyo. I live in San Francisco. I work for DPR Construction. I'm one of the national quality leaders, and I lead culture of quality for the company. And it's been an absolute pleasure to work with both Randy and Annett over the years. We connected because of our research interest and our deep intention to change the industry and share what we have, the knowledge we have, and the ideas we have. We don't agree most of the times on a lot of things, which makes our conversations and research way more interesting. So it's been a very we have been working together for more than 7 years, I think.
More than 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Sorry.
I just said a decade, like.
A decade. Yeah, probably it's a decade. So I did my research on understanding how to make decisions and how to help project teams think about decision making in a context of sustainability, looking at different factors to analyze solutions when we're in construction projects, how we choose building layout, where to locate the buildings, which materials to choose, building systems, all those things. And I use something, a system called Choosing by Advantages, that it's now very well known in the construction, in the lean construction industry. I wouldn't say the overall construction industry, but in lean, it's very well known. So that's where we connected with Annett and Randy. Randy was leading. I know you're going to introduce yourself, but I'm going to say what called me. My attention from Randy is like she's leading a huge project, a mega project in UK, and she has she's implementing lean. It's a huge tunnel project that goes down the Thames River, and she's making very big decisions with a lot of different stakeholders and have a lot of different impact. So we started having conversations about how these ideas can be implemented in his project. And on the other hand, Annett, it's making research on public industry and how they are making decisions on how they are selecting their contractors, their buildings, and we click instantly just because of our research interest and the ideas we wanted to explore together. So I'm going to stop there and let the others introduce themselves.
Thank you, Paz. And I don't know, Annett, if you continue a bit of how you got to know Paz as well, and what you do as a work and your background.
Yeah, perfect. So for me, because I really can remember the time I met Paz and Randy very clearly, and I can remember it was in 2013 at IGLC. I met Paz the first time. We were both PhD students, and I had no idea about what she's talking about with CBA. I was researching on my PhD regarding collaboration in public sector, and you always come back to the tendering procedure because the system, how we run the system, how we tender out, this has a major impact on how people behave afterwards in the project. So no clue about her topic. She was talking about in the summer school. We had fun so far. That was nice. And then later on in Oslo, and Renny, you were there in Oslo too, I said in the presentation of Paz, and I was like, man, why are we not doing this in the tendering procedure, the CBA? that was the first impact I had. And then I was like talking to her, and that's how we carried out the first research paper, actually. And maybe coming back to my background, yeah, I was, what's my position now? So I'm a bit free floating right now because I'm not with a company at the moment. I'm more like kind of on holiday vacations or traveling around, but doing a bit freelance in between. I'm not with a company right now, but I was for a long time with a lean company, and worked also as a lean consultant in different kind of big projects, also mega project in Germany, Austria, and so this is where I'm coming in from the practical side, and then also like was partly when I was research associate, worked in claim management. That's why I got this whole idea about why we need changes. This is ridiculous what we do with all these claims and disputes in our sector. So that's how my research was even more interesting to me, because I was like, we need to change this directly. And with Randy, I think we met the first time, if I remember correctly, at the EGLC, the European Group of Lean Concept, I think in Denmark. Yeah. And that must be in 2000, I cannot remember, 15, right? 14, 15, something like that. So quite a bit of time ago too.
Thank you, Annett. Yes, it's been a while, and that's also why I put these pictures up, both of us, but also actually from Edmonton on the IGLC, because I will say that these conferences, even though all of us now are working in practice, really gives us a lot, because it builds network, it builds connections, and that's also where we met. So that's why I put up these different pictures. First time I met Paz in this workshop in Oslo, I actually tried to leave the workshop during the break because I thought that was ridiculously theoretical way of making decision, and I really did not like the way she was approaching it. But Paz went to talk to me in the break, and then it was very difficult for me not to get with her back into the room again. And I'm so lucky for that conversation, because 2 years later, I was sitting on a project, as you said, in London, and I really, really needed some help of how to make better decisions on that project. And I suddenly remembered, and I called Paz. So this is about having these networks that you can call and have people in the background, even though you don't meet every other day, but just people who cherish you, is really, really important. And I think that's actually some of the things we will jump to in a second. At the moment, I'm sitting and I'm a sustainability director in a large engineering company worldwide. I'm responsible for projects from Korea to Vancouver, and it's within major infrastructure, tunnels, bridges, and also power to X, carbon capture and offshore wind. So a lot of different market, a lot of different types of projects that needs to drive sustainability. And people often ask me, why are you then still active within the lean community? Well, both because that's where my family and my friends are, but it's also because I could not do my job. I could not lead the green transition without a clear understanding of the processes of how people collaborate and how we bring people together. So the lean principles we work on are so needed in my world, and it's so needed in everyone's work if we want to succeed with the green transition. And then I think we'll move to the next one, a bit of how it started. I think I'll start with that, and then I'll leave the word to Paz to continue on that afterwards. We talked a bit about why and how we met, but this about actually having people that share on each other and want to support each other and want to give, because we believe that we can grow from giving and from learning others. I think that actually comes a bit also back to some of our lean core values, that everyone is an expert in their fields. And I think that actually brings this community a bit closer together, and it actually helps us a lot also in our everyday world. And at the moment we talk in this little group of 3 every single week, sometimes for half an hour, sometimes much longer. And on occasions we meet up physically as well. And that's how we build trust. It's by having connections that actually grow over time. And I don't know, Paz, if you want to take it a bit further.
Yeah, absolutely. As Randy said, the commitment to each other and to deliver and explore the ideas that we have to publish results. We have done. We have collaborated in many seminars, webinars, workshops. We have published together more than 20 papers over the years, for a lot of them for the lean construction, the IGLC conference, but also some papers that we have published on journals and experiments that we have think about. And one of the projects that we've been working on, and that's the picture where we're meeting now. Last year we actually took vacations, the three of us together, to work on a book that compiles all our case studies and learnings over the years on how to make decisions collaboratively and in a sound way. So that was a big commitment. I mean, I stopped going to on vacations with my family and so Randy and everybody, and we happened to. I mean, it was great. We did a lot of progress, and sometimes I don't know if we have said something, but Randy lives in Denmark. Annett, for the most part, in Germany when she's not traveling the world, and she's just coming back from Antarctica. So and then I'm in San Francisco, but I'm from Chile, so I also travel a lot. So so it's hard to find. I mean, it will be easy to find excuses to say this is not going to work, but because we're very committed to delivering our ideas and share, we have also widen over the years our interest. We started with decision making in construction. When AI came to, and this idea of, oh, what is artificial intelligence doing to decision making? That's something that we were instantly interested in because we were talking about it and we were hearing people talking about it. We actually wrote a book chapter on the impact of artificial intelligence and the ethics associated to it in who's making the decisions. Can you trust algorithms and all those things that are very important? So we are always looking for new ideas that come because we're very connected in our organizations. I worked for a general contractor here in the US, DBR Construction, that has many different projects. So I can see where things are coming, the conversations that are coming, and where research is needed too.
I don't know, Annett, if you have another comment before I move on to the last one.
Yes, I would like to comment on the private part we also talk about, because it's not only that we're talking about papers, about research. I mean, we're talking also, the first thing we're talking about, how are we doing in our jobs? Which challenges are we facing right now? And so it's not only that we're talking about like research and what we want to more explore, it's also helpful to have a community or a network where you can go and talk about problems you have in your recent either project or company or whatever, even though if you have it in your family, you know, because everything of this is impacting your own performance. So it's very important to have a network and get also sometimes the perspective from other people and learn from other people what they experience. So it's not only about talking about like business and research, it's much more talking also about like how we doing, what's going on in our lives, what is the challenge, what are we facing right now. And so I think this is also very important to acknowledge.
That's a really good point, and it's this about giving each other support also in career choices. And when we struggle sometimes as females in leadership positions in the construction industry, we spend time discussing that as well. Our next big commitment is that we'll bring the families together this summer on the holiday when we meet up, hopefully in Italy. So I hope they'll kind of connect as well as we have done. So I think I'll just close up then by some of the advices we can give from our side is actually, you know, how to build such a network and connect with people. You know, I think it's about being open, you know, go with the crazy woman after the break in the workshop, go with her in and actually listen to the rest of it. It might actually be something you can learn from. I think this about being consistent. because we do have, a scheduled call every single week at the same time. Our families, our workplaces, everyone around us know that this hour is sacred for us, and we try to do that. It's also about investing and actually giving a bit of yourself and not just getting. So it's also about supporting each other and paying back. And then we have a shared mission, we have a shared passion. We want to change the construction world, and we want to bring better decision making into it. And I truly believe that is needed to be more and make a more sustainable world and a more equal world. And then last but not least, have fun, because if we don't laugh and have fun and have a few bubbles now and then, it will never work. So I think that is it from our side, and I hope you have enjoyed some of our advices and some of our experiences.
Thank you so much. Thanks, the three of you, for this wonderful presentation, insights, and for sharing some personal knowledge as well. I think it's just great to see how people working together and supporting each other, the importance of that. And I think as I was listening to you, of course, it's very important as being females to support each other, but in a way, I think it is important regardless of our gender, isn't it? If you have a support group and we share ideas and we actually have shared the goals and interests as well, and when we come together, I think we can only become successful. So thank you very much for that. Right. We do have questions as we did for Patricia as well earlier, but let's bring those questions to the discussion. So what I'll do now is I would like to call Bárbara, who's going to be, I think, coordinating our discussion session. So Bárbara, and introducing our other speakers as well.
Thank you so much. So I'm Bárbara Pedó. I'm a lean and efficiency manager at Arcadis, and I'm also a part-time PhD student at the University of Huddersfield. So I also have these two hats from academia and industry. Before I introduce the other members of the roundtable, just let me give you a bit of understanding on how this will work. And first of all, what a responsibility to facilitate this roundtable with so many remarkable people. And I confess that I'm a bit nervous, as you all have inspired my career. So thanks all for joining. And then to kick off, let's start with a brief summary of the event so far. So we had two different presentations, but amazing cases. One from Patricia and another one from Randy, Paz, and Annett. Patricia shows us the importance of having diversity, but also collaboration in the public sector, but also the importance of having the role model and examples that can inspire us, which was amazing. And Randy, Annett, and Paz are an amazing example of how collaboration is essential to support our journeys and allow us to fly even higher. So I can only say thank you for the insightful presentation. So how this roundtable will work then? Every participant will have the opportunity to raise a question to the speakers. Once we finish this round of questions, we'll be opening the discussion to the wider public. So throughout the discussion, I encourage everyone, the participants of the roundtable, but also the audience, to contribute openly. Feel free to share your thoughts, experience, and for the audience, we'll be capturing the questions through the YouTube channel. So please send your questions and comments through that, and we'll be capturing that. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Mike. I believe that we already had some introductions to Mark, Patricia, and Bernardo. So I would like to quickly introduce Mike Agliogo. So Professor Mike Agliogo joined the Montfort University in July 2023 as the Pro Vice Chancellor, Research and Business Innovation. Mike is responsible for leading the university strategy and delivery of all areas related to research, enterprise, business innovation, commercial, and stakeholder and partnership development. So thanks for joining us. Mike, I'm not reading all of that because it's a very long bio, by the way. But thanks for joining us. And as you were the last one to be introduced, I would like to put you on the spot to be the first one to perhaps raise a question to the participants. So over to you to kick off with a question for the speakers, if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you very much, Bárbara. And can I say how inspiring it's been just listening to all the different stories and just some amazing collaborations and ways of working against what might have been the kind of norm expected within the sector. So that's been very inspiring. So I guess I want to follow on from that, and I guess, you know, we had both the efforts of an individual, but also as a team. The three of you have worked together. But and I guess when you worked as a team, you used each other as a role model. But if you were to take yourselves out of that, what's been driving you in your career? Did you have any role models as you were driving your ambition in the sector and kind of fighting against what might have been quite a you know, difficult culture, I guess, in terms of leadership in construction? If you had any role models, what were they? And if you can just share some of your experiences, that would be great.
Would you like to start?
Who wants to go first? Randy, I think you're unmuted, so why don't you go first?
Thank you for the question. This question about role models is really important, and I have been thinking about it hard many times in my career. And honestly, you know, as a young professional, I don't think I had a female role model. I had a lot of male role models that I looked up to and that were great and that I wanted to be like and learn from. But I did lack a lot of female role models until I actually entered this lean community. And I think that's one of the reasons why I have been so impressed by this community. So I think I entered the community first in 2004. Actually the lean community, and that was before I made my PhD, and that was where the first time I saw myself, I have a place in this construction industry. There's a role for me to play. I actually can do a difference in this world, because I saw that there were females in here, but I also saw the humanity that people had in this community was kind of the values were aligned with what I wanted to do in the industry. So I honestly think that if I have not been entering this community at that time of my career, I would probably not be in the construction industry today.
Well, that's an amazing story. I guess that was the conference in Denmark, right? So we probably met at the time, but that's over 20 years ago. What about the others?
I can go next. So for me, I joined the construction industry in Chile first. So I worked, my first job out of college was on a construction company that did tunnels for the mining industry in Chile. And I did not see many women. I did not have a role model. There was one person though, and she was absolutely great. She was leading the largest project actually that the company had at that time. And she's been in the industry forever, but she was the exception, and she was totally exceptional. Her project was always great, always run smoothly and made the most money, basically, for the company. Then when I started to do my PhD, I also was lucky to have a female advisor. So my PhD advisor was Professor Iris Tomlin. So it was great to have her as a role model for the industry. She's a person that has influenced the industry in many different ways, has been recognized across the board, and has obviously also she instilled in me a lot of standards about how things should be in the research academy side. And then in general, in the work at DPR, there's a lot of females, but it's not the majority. You see women. I heard one comment once that when you see women in construction, especially leadership position, they are pretty great at what they do. Like, we will get to equality when you see mediocre women in all positions, because I mean, really, not offense, but there's obviously more variety on on males. You don't have to be great to stay in the construction industry, but for a woman, you're measured against a higher standard, and you have to, really make your own space.
So that's a very good point.
Thank you, Paz. Annett, would you like to
Yeah.
contribute with your story?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, it started a bit earlier in the family, how I came to the topic of construction. I have the feeling, I'm not sure if it's a fact, that quite often as female enter the construction industry, they have someone related in their family or in their circle around who is somehow in the construction industry to see, okay, there is another job. So for me, it was my father, who is civil engineer and is like the CEO of a general contractor. But I didn't like how he came home. So he was always stressed, always under pressure to get the next project. There's a lot of stress and frustration around these kind of industry, which didn't get acknowledged because we only see like the technical parts and not the emotion. And so I was feeling like this must be going differently. And then when I entered university, I studied industrial engineering. And in the engineering part, I always ended up like sitting in the civil engineering courses. And I tried to avoid it and try to think, oh, you shouldn't go there. There's not enough females. It will be very tough and hard to go through this industry. But I couldn't help myself, That was just what I wanted to do for my heart. So yeah, that's how I ended up in the construction industry at the end. And when I think about role models on my way through the PhD and in the industry, I agree with Renny. There was one woman, I really have to say, when I did my PhD, and I was at the University of California in San Francisco to collect data. Even though they are great male models, like Michael Pedó, but then I met a woman. She was an attorney working there, and she was pretty cool, I found. So that was like the first time I saw a woman really having a big impact on projects and driving the projects, and I really liked it. Other than that, I really have to say, on my way, even though in my PhD there were only males, on my board only males, in the companies usually the leadership position always male. So there was not much to look up, actually, which is sad on the other side when you think about it.
Absolutely. So I guess that's your opportunity to become the role model for others. And what about Patricia?
Yeah, so for me, I don't know, I kind of was brought up through the industry a little bit differently. I come from Brazil, and most of you know Naughty, right, which is an engineering school. I graduated as an architect, and from the beginning, there was always a good balance between women and men. In my perception, at least, I had women role models and I had men role models, especially as an academic, right? I had the opportunity. Patricia was my co-supervisor. I had another supervisor, which was a male, and I had many, many colleagues that were women, and we had an amazing group. So I never really felt much the difference, right, between gender per se. And I think what really later on, when I came to the US, to the United States, that are professors in Berkeley that I keep a connection with at the business school, at the engineering, like Iris, that are female leaders in the industry. And there are males too that I think that what the role models that I create is actually because I work with culture a lot, and understanding what are the purpose, right? I think the purpose is what brings people together. And if you have affinity around the purpose, it doesn't really matter what gender you are, right? So I think the role models that I've created and I followed and I engaged in, the way I built my network in the industry is based on the wider goals and the visions that people want to achieve.
Thank you very much for your answers. In the interest of time, maybe we can go to Mark.
Yes. Thank you, Mike. Very interesting question, and thanks for the answers as well. Mark, over to you. Do you have any question that you'd like to ask and use this opportunity?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, let me congratulate all our speakers. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing your experience and your journey so far. I have plenty of questions, but let me start by asking Patricia. You mentioned about culture. It was really interesting to hear what different things you were able to achieve. But the question that was coming to my mind was that, what efforts did you have to make to actually change the culture, not only in terms of implementation, adoption of lean, but also from equity, from inclusiveness. What challenges did you face? If you could share that, please.
Yeah, so from my perspective, I feel like I'm just a little piece of the puzzle, right? Every time I engage in these projects, we are a team that's kind of working on the culture of the project teams, and even within our companies too. So it's a little piece of the puzzle. And I think throughout the years that I've been in the industry, I think there is a component of awareness, right? The more we talk about the importance of diversity and the more we talk about the importance of inclusion, there are different terms, right? But it's not only giving opportunity to people to come in, but or women to come in, but also having a seat on the table, right? So I think throughout the years, I've seen a change in exposure of messages, like what we are doing right now is just like so important to create the awareness, to plant a seed, right? So I think that has contributed a lot to start changing how we see culture in the construction industry, is creating an awareness that diversity is needed and diversity brings some benefits. So I've been working with cultures, team cultures a lot. And I remember in the beginning, it was all about fun, and now it's changing, diversity, inclusion. The project that I am right now, it's a hospital in San Francisco. It's a public hospital too, also collaborative. And it's a $4.5 billion project. It's a ginormous project with a lot of people. And diversity came out as one of the key things we want to achieve in the project, given all the stakeholders that are involved. And I think it was hard to get there. And I think part of it was this increasingly awareness as a society that we have to change the way we traditionally work in construction.
Thanks, Patricia. Let me move on to our other group of speakers, Randy, Paz, and Annett. Thanks for sharing your experience. So clearly, you all, the three of you, have bonded well together. You had a chance to, you figured out how best to share your experience and then learn from each other and grow from that point. My question is that, have you had a chance to explore how you can extend that network and perhaps reach out to other women that might also benefit from your way of establishing a network and perhaps grow it further?
I can perhaps start a bit and then the others can join in. I think actually one of the thing is, like, when we get an invitation for an event like this, that there's never a question of whether or not we want to support it. So things like this, we tend to kind of just, of course, this is part of our agenda, is to share, both our knowledge and how we work and collaborate across. And the same goes within the Lean community. It's not like we're a closed group that never collaborate with anyone else. We get a lot of invitations to a lot of different projects. However, I also believe that because the three of us kind of sticks together, we encourage each other to actually take the extra step sometimes that we would not necessarily have taken if we did not have the encouragement from the others. And I think sometimes we get opportunities also in the industry because we are seeing sometimes of a bit of a trio, and people know that together we have complementary skills. So there are things that I'm good at, and there's definitely a lot of things that I'm really bad at, and where I need the other two. So I think this actually also is a strength of ours. So we collaborate a lot with different parties, but being the three of us as at a core, I think is also a strength. At least that's what I'm seeing from my perspective.
Annett, would you like to comment?
I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry, you can just jump in past, because I would say I would agree with Rennie, what she's saying, and I would say like yeah, there is no limit of not collaborating or not limit. We don't limit ourselves in saying we of course we stick together, but that doesn't mean we are not sharing with others. You know what I mean? So it's like if people are reaching out, if other people are reaching out, feel free and we would share. I mean, it's like, even though what I'm learning from Paz and from Randy, and I had like leadership positions too, and I had employees, and I'm talking to them about stuff, and I'm always talking to people. This is like a really advice I gave to people where I was in a leadership position. I've always said, like, find people out of your company and create a network and talk to those people to have another perspective, you know, because if you just have one perspective in your organization, this is one perspective, but there are many others too. So if you just stick to your own company the whole time, perspective-wise, you might miss a lot of stuff out. So it's always important to get some impulse, some interaction from the outside to also be more innovative, be creative, and help your own company to have a discussion about topics which might be not correct in your own organization. As you can go ahead if you want.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. Absolutely, we are not on a silo. We preach collaboration. So obviously, we are. I think one of the biggest impacts that we are making is it's just giving a good example of collaboration and supporting woman, and for example, I mean, my company has benefited from Randy's expertise, for example, in knowledge management. We were trying to think about a new platform or a new project, and I said, well, I have a friend that is an expert on this. Would you like to hear from her? And she's always willing to do that. We have also studied projects at DPR where we have engaged with architects and owners and other people to explore the decision making, and having an external perspective has been very, very important to keep the research also true to research standards. But yeah, in general, I would say it's hard to replicate the model we did in terms of the commitment we have, and we have had also some other. I remember one time somebody asked me, "Oh, can I just join your team?" It's like, I think you need to create your own team. It's not that we're automatically going to engage at this level of commitment with. I mean, you have close friends, right? It's not that, but definitely I think what Annett said is create your own network, create and engage with people outside your work group, maybe in your company or outside your organization. At DPR, I also participate in women's groups, and those are wonderful spaces just to feel like you can share the same experiences.
Thank you all for answering those questions. I have one more question that I will save it for later.
Thank you, Mark. And I know that Patricia also has few questions. So Patricia, over to you.
Yeah, I had a different question, but now through the discussion, I just thought of something different, actually. After hearing Patricia Tillman say she never felt there was a difference or a lack of a mix in between males and females when she was actually at Nori in Brazil, it made me remember when I was there 20 odd years ago, right? And well, nearly more than 20 odd anyway. But when I was there, that wasn't the case at all. I was really in the middle of a group of males, right? And I was constantly meeting with males, and I went to work in industry and there were only males around, So I felt it was a little challenging, and I felt there was a bit of a lack of role models, Anyway, but I'm saying all this as a preamble to my question, and that's because I think, of course, the academic world has a very important role in providing equality, diversity, in providing those environments where people feel that there isn't a difference, and that it doesn't really matter if you're male or female, we can succeed within the construction industry, and in research and in academia as well. So my question to you all would be, how do you see that we could do to try and help attract more females into the industry, in academia, and also to keep them in the industry? Because one of the other challenges we see, especially in architecture, right, in our courses, that we have more or less 50-50 male-female starting at the BA. When you got to the March, we lost a lot of the females, right? And then at the end, we have only 25% females actually graduating out of the cohort. So what do you see you can do to, first of all, attract more females and then to retain them from your personal perspectives?
I would really love to start on this one, if I can.
Please, Randy. Yeah.
Because this is an extremely important question you're having here, and it's actually really important to me as well, also from a personal perspective, because there was a reason why I left academia, and it was because it was too competitive, and there was no perspective, and I wanted to have kids, and there were only short-term jobs to have in academia for the first many years. So actually, I just recently joined the board of one of the best universities in the world when it comes to engineering. And one of my main courses of being at that board is actually to start to promote better work conditions for females, younger female academias, and especially international as well, because I think this is so important. I think we're lacking a lot of talent with that. But the question is then what to do about it. And I actually think the first thing is to speak about it and talk about it and identify what are the barriers. And just yesterday, actually, in Denmark, there was a big report about how female PhD students were harassed. And the numbers there were horrific. And I'm in a country where I think, we feel equal, we think we have equal opportunities, but these numbers and that research was horrific. So no, I do not blame any female researchers for not wanting to stay. And there's a huge gap there. There's a lot of work to be done there. And the first thing is to actually identify some of the barriers in the short-term positions, but the tone and also the constant competition on funding are some of the areas I think that is not appealing to people who actually wants to work in a team, and that could be both females and males, but people that want to be part of a team can find it difficult to be part of that work environment, I see from my perspective. So I'm looking very much forward to hear the answers from the other speakers.
Thank you so much, Randy. And I think, together with that, of course, it is an issue in the academic world, and I've seen it, unfortunately, I've seen that in a couple of examples, but anyway, it would be nice to also hear what you think we could do to help attract more young females into our courses, But anyway, shall we, I don't know who would like to speak next, maybe Paz, do you want to share it?
Sure.
Everybody jumps at the same time.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I would just jump in because what comes in my mind, I agree with Randy, there are like these short-term contracts also in Germany. So it's not that you're staying at the university. There's the other point that you have like no positions. So we don't have like something, we have a research associate that's combined like in short-term contracts, and then you're like doing your PhD on top of it by working for the university. And then you have like sometimes research projects where you have fundings in order to work in academia, but then you either get a professorship, which is like a totally different story, but there's nothing in between. So there's no other level other than that. That's why a lot of people drop anyways out of out of academia, no matter if it's a male or female, at least in my country. But I want to more address the industry side, where we're talking about the construction industry. We have the same point that in architecture, there's more female than male. And then we have like in civil engineering or industrial engineering, less female and more male. And then we have like a lot of good students, even though female, who make it, but then dropping out later in the industry because they don't like how they got approached there. So even though when you see like, one point is when you see how many female architects we have and how many female architects are in leadership position, it usually makes no sense, right? Then you see like in civil engineering, when you have people on site, there's not much female on site. At least I was running a lot of projects, like helping them to implement lean. And then when I sit there, there's like maybe 1 out of 30 people in the room a female. That's quite low. And it's not that we don't get students to study it. It's more like, how do we create the culture in order that they want to work in the industry? And the industry is still like very traditional, and the industry is still challenging regarding, especially when you're on site, because what I experience is like, so when they see me at the first time, they look at me and say like, oh, a blonde girl, what does she want to tell me? You know, this is the first impression. I talk to the people. I'm like creating friendship with those guys too. So after that, at one point I asked them, so what did you thought like when you saw me at the first time? And they like testing you out, and they don't think you have the knowledge, or they don't think you can do it. And then you do it, and then they're getting impressed by you. And then you have really a lot of positive effects. But going through this is the part where we probably lose a lot of females, while they say, why should I do this? You know, why should I stay in this culture if I can have like in a normal, maybe other industry, a better job where I don't get like these back and forth, where I get promotions, where I do not have like getting these comments sometimes. You know, this is like a big issue, but we have to address it, because those people, sometimes they are just not aware of how they act. And so the most important thing for me is, if I see it, I'm trying to address it so that they think about what they did. But you have to have a lot of confidence to do that too. And this is usually the part where young people, their confidence is growing. It's not there from the beginning. So that's the hard part, to get through the first years.
Yeah,
Annett.
we agree. Thank you.
Just
Maybe
aware of time.
Okay.
Patricia, would you like to quickly respond that, and then we go through the key takeaways from everyone?
Yeah. Two key points. I think we have done research with several people here at Annett, and we published a paper on gender bias in construction. And I think one of the major issues is that it's a bias that it's hard to see, and what we saw in the results is that for men it's hard to see because they don't deal with that. You know, it's a natural thing. You know, so I think there's a huge education gap. At least in my company at DPR, we do have bias awareness training that it's important. It's a good start. It's the awareness, right? But it's a lot. I mean, it's going to take time. At least the stats in the US, it's been 10% of women in construction for the last 20 plus years, and has not changed. So we got quickly to 10%, and there's no change. And then the other quick point is, I think it's important for girls. I participate in an organization that's called Girls Inc., and I lead the liaison with DPR here. And it's about sharing with girls and showing them different career opportunities. And we invite them over our offices and show them what construction looks like. It just never had, especially when you come from a family that doesn't have good education, or you're not exposed to a lot of things, you cannot even imagine yourself following a career in construction. And there's a lot of preconceptions. As Patricia showed, there's so many things that you can do. And most people don't know that, especially little girls.
Thank you, Pat.
So I just wanted to just wanted to final comments, right? And back to that question of the role model and the way I was raised. So the way I was raised, there was no impossibilities, right? Because my mom was a professor. I had many role models in the academia, right? So that really shaped how I thought about things and what I could do or not. When I came to the US and I joined the industry in the US, it was predominantly male, but I carried that baggage with me, right? It didn't stop me from achieving what I wanted because I carried that from my background and the way I was brought up. So I think the more women we have in construction, and the more, especially in the industry, and the more we allow them to be on leadership positions and be exposed, that will naturally inspire younger people. Like this project that I showed to you guys, the superintendent was a woman, the safety manager was a woman, several senior PMs were women. So that naturally attracts, there were a lot of like interns, female interns that came to this project too. So I think it creates a pulling mechanism to other women to enter because they know it's possible and they have these, they see more possibilities with these role models stepping in.
That's amazing. Thanks, Patricia, for the contribution and comment. So before we close, I would like to invite you all the participants, to share a key takeaway from today or from your journey, something that could inspire our audience. This could be a lessons learned, could be a recommended book or the book that you guys are writing at the moment, or a useful tip as well. So who would you like to start with a key takeaway from today or from your journey?
Bárbara, do you want to start maybe? Just make a comment.
Yes.
I mean, first of all, once again, it's been very inspiring to hear of all of those stories. And I guess both in academia, but also in industry, those stories that kind of resonate with what is happening in the sector. And I guess what came out clearly today was around the role of the individual and the strength of the individual, but also how people can work together. But the flip side of that was that, you know, if you're strong, you can survive. If you work together, you can survive, which I guess there's an undercurrent there, which means that somehow you have to cope in that kind of environment. So I think we still have a lot of work to do. You know, if that is the only way of entering a profession, and it shouldn't be that way for any profession, including construction. So although the stories have been very encouraging and there's a lot, I think, to take away in terms of how to engage, I think there's still a lot of work to be done in the sector so that it becomes a more seamless pathway and career pathway for women.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mike. Patricia Tertopoulos.
Right. Okay. I think the issue for me, it's really how we can support people, right? I think I'm really keen and interested in hearing as many views as we can to try and do that, because I feel a personal responsibility towards the females that I actually have within my department, within the school that I'm leading, you know. And also I've had a number of PhD female students, some of which are here, you know. And it's how we support them, but also how we help ensure that we actually attract a sufficient number of students, female students, into our courses, you know, because that would be the basics, I think, from where we can start. So they need to start we need to inspire them. They need to have a better view of the industry. They shouldn't be seeing the industry like a place just for males to be working because it's dirty and it's unsafe and it's noisy. So bad working environments. We should be hopefully talking more about the benefits and the cases like the one Patricia just mentioned, you know, where you have females doing all sorts of jobs. So you help attract more females, but also help keep them in professions, in the profession. So of course, collaboration is important, and it's going to be always, you know, having role models will be important. But if there are other things, and talking talking about things will always be important, and providing that help, support, mentorship will be important. But with any other ideas, please get in touch with me, because this is something I'm really passionate about, and I would really like to ensure we can collectively help make a difference.
Thank you, Patricia. Randy, over to you. Randy?
Yes, sorry. Yes, I think perhaps my takeaway from this was that when I started my career 20 plus years ago, I did not have a lot of people to look up to. And I actually look up to most of the people in this call today. So I think this about having role models and getting more females in is getting there. It's getting slow, and we can help each other by cheering on each other, as we said in our presentation. I think that helps a lot. So that would be my takeaway, is we're going in the right direction. It might be going a bit slow, but we can help by cheering.
Brilliant. Thank you. Mark, over to you.
Okay. Well, I completely agree with the comments that have been made so far. And I think the question that I was going to ask towards the end was going to be that what message all of you would want to send to the men and then also the women who are listening to this seminar, and as a takeaway, or what should be done. But if I were to summarize, what is the takeaway for me? It has been, first of all, very inspiring. And I can summarize it perhaps in 3 phrases or 3 words. That is the importance of network, culture change, and perseverance. So I think 3 important messages that you are conveying to our audience. Back to you, Bárbara.
Thank you so much. That was a really good summary, actually. So now over to Patricia Tillman.
Yeah. So for me, you mentioned also, you have a book to recommend or something. So I do work a lot with, I want to call pluralistic blended teams, men and women, right? And we do like culture workshops, like value workshops and things like that. And it's amazing when people start understanding that they are aligned somehow, right? They have similarities, and they have aligned goals or aligned interests or things in common, right? And I think that really helps with the mixture. So there's a book, I just got one of them that we used recently here, is The 6 Types of Working Geniuses. It just tells you about your style and how you contribute on a team, right? And when you do that, it gives you 6 types, 6 different categories, right? And then people realize they are very similar. They have similar traits and they have similar interests. And I think it's fascinating, because then you forget about your gender or your race or you are connected through that similarity and bounded towards that. So there are many books that you can use, and with teams to make that connection among the human level, right? So that's one example.
Thank you so much. I will be checking that book. Paz, over to you.
Yeah, my final message is more a call for action. If I think the people that can change this, it's the people in leadership positions right now. And I would say, think about representation. Like when you're choosing who to invite to your next meeting, who to hire, who to promote, think about, are you representing the people that works for you or that you're serving? I think that's really a message to at least question.
Thank you. Annett?
Yeah, I think everybody covered everything very well. What I would add is like, for example, because we know as a group, all are we sitting here, or also the attendants out there, we know there is like still a gap, and we know like we need to talk about gender bias still in the industry. So what I'm doing usually in one of my lectures I do in Graz, and those are usually courses where like men who are like 20 years working in construction, like coming to these courses, I take a bit time to talk about gender bias. And even though it's hard sometimes to talk, especially with more older people, about those topics who are like 20, 25 years in the industry, I think it's worth it and makes a difference, because then they start seeing maybe things in a different way, you know, but you just have to talk about it. So I think communication is the most important part by addressing issues, and yeah, looking out, if you have issues, looking out for help who helps you to address it, maybe if you're not able to address it on your own.
Brilliant, thank you. Bernardo, Raquel, Manoela, do you have takeaways that you'd like to share before we close? I believe that the silence might be a no. So
Yeah.
without, oh, go on.
No, actually, just before the closure, Bárbara, please just you can finish.
Brilliant. So without further ado, I would like to thank everyone for the contributions. That was amazing and very inspiring as well. So thanks all the speakers, all the participants, and all the audience as well. I would like to mention that we'll be developing a material that summarizes the day, and this will be shared post-event. And as we approach the end, if we don't have any further comments from the participants, we will now close it. So thank you so much, and speak to you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Bárbara.
Very much.
Thank you, everyone
Thank you so
here.
much.
Thank you.